What's up?
Welcome, guys. So today we're in a new episode of Let's Talk. Today we have a special guest. His name is Dante, and we're gonna be talking about like struggles we faced being Christian in the 21st century in these times where they're like tough times. We should balance it in between things in the outer world and put our limits in the outer world, and then put our limits in what I believe is called being super religious in this topic. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, so I mean, I think with that it's really interesting, right? Because it is kind of like a balancing act, and it's funny to say that it's a balancing act because like you want to be the same person everywhere you are, but it's kind of like you have to balance those two worlds at the same time, right? Yeah. But you want to be like authentic. You don't want to be like fake or come off as somebody that you're not, or like leave your Christianity at church or anything like that, you know? So I think it's definitely like a challenge for me. Something that really has stood out in my mind in that balance always is, right, the Bible says that everything is allowed, but not everything is good for me, right? So it's having that walk with God and knowing within myself, like, okay, I could do this and it's technically not wrong, but it's not something that's going to benefit my life, you know? Like a big topic for a lot of people is like the thing of like worldly music, like, oh, that's not a Christian person, why are you listening to that song? There's a balance to it, right? Those are things where, you know, I try to just find it in my relationship with God, like, okay, God, where is this taking me? What is this leading me to do? Is this giving me a positive reaction or taking me closer to what I want, or is it pulling me further from God?
I think it has to do a lot also with conviction, like, and our relationship with God, because I believe that there are certain things that, like, as Christians, there's no giving in, right. You know, like, there's certain things that either the Bible says or, like, you know, and personal convictions, like a big topic, sex before marriage.
Right.
Right? And then, okay, but I'm going to marry this person and we're both Christian and no sé qué, so it might be okay. But that's, in my opinion, that's something that's a radical standpoint as a Christian person. And then there's the other one, for, like you were saying, like worldly music, or, maybe I can have a drink here.
Or tattoos.
Or tattoos. That's a big one, too. Yeah. So I think it's also a lot about convictions and knowing there's things that there's no giving into. And then your personal relationship with God as far as, okay, this doesn't affect me. Maybe having a drink doesn't affect me, but it affects you. You know, so then that's where that balance comes to play.
Yeah, it like depends on like what's happened to you, and like we have to put our limits in our things. And like my parents know that they can't drink to a certain point because they know that like after that it's not gonna be good. Like you'll get wild, you'll get drunk, and everything will get crunk. Like from there goes downhill. So it's like personal limits, and like even in church, there's some people that can't do something, but that's where you personally, if you can do it, it's respecting the other person. If I know that that the other person doesn't like worldly music, I'm not gonna blast it in the car with them.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, this is my music, and like rock
respectful.
hard and like go off on it when the other person is having a really hard time.
Right.
So that's where the balance comes in, and like respecting the other person. Like maybe I don't agree with it, but I believe that if I don't agree with something, I still respect it. And I'm like, okay, you do you and I do me.
Like, for example, I like to have a drink every once in a while, right? And usually when I go out to dinner, if I go out to a nice restaurant, you know, I'll get something to drink. But if I go out with certain friends, like I know, for example, we go to dinner with Junior and his wife Vivi all the time, and
we take shots of water.
Yeah, we take shots of water. Right,
we do.
Right. I know, like we know they don't drink, so we don't drink when we're around them, right? Because it's that respect towards them. Yeah. You know, it's exactly what you were saying.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I just need to be clear about what's right for me, not necessarily is wrong for you, or what's wrong for me is not necessarily wrong for you. Because like you were saying, maybe I can't drink alcohol, but that is based on a decision I made, you know, but it doesn't make you a sinner or less of a person just because you drink. And I think we all, like, it's all about being honest of where we're at in our walk, you know, with the Lord. And this walk is about giving up and surrendering things. And if we're not surrendering things, we get stuck. And if we get stuck, we stink, right? It's like water, you know, that you don't move and it just it stinks, right? So the same way in our walk, in our lives, we constantly need to be giving up things. And but I can become judgmental of someone else just because they drink. You know, that's something that I decided because I realized and I learned that it's not good for me.
I think it also has to do a lot with the motive of our hearts. Like, what is the true, like, if we're going to have this drink, like, okay, why? Like, am I going to have it to fit in with the other people? Or is this just something that I, you know, because I just want to have a cocktail because I like how it tastes and that's it.
The environment you're putting yourself in.
Yeah.
Like whether it's like good, safe, and you're going to be okay, or you're putting yourself like in a dangerous situation. Or
Like for me, I have an example, kind of a funny example. When I was like, I think 15 or 16 in high school, we wanted to go to the movies. So my mom drove me to the movies. I found out that the movie we were gonna watch was a rated R movie. And then the kids, their birthday, they were turning 17. So I guess at 17 you could get in to watch a rated R movie. So they were gonna buy tickets for all of us, so we could all get in even though we weren't 17.
The crossroads.
So I was like, oh my God, here I am, like 15, okay, what do I do? And I felt conviction in my heart, like at that age, and I was like, guys, I don't think I can do this. Like they knew I was Christian, and they were like, "Oh, you're the good girl." But they respected me, which is what you were saying. They respected that about me, and I was like, so I called my mom, and I was like, "Mom, can you pick me up? I don't think that I should be in this, you know." Yeah. So I had that conviction of like, okay, and maybe it was okay if I went. You know, it wasn't wrong. I felt the Holy Spirit, you know, like telling me, okay, this is what you should do.
I've heard it many times, like at a church, like once you leave the doors, it's the outer world and it's like a fight. Like I imagine it as, like I see it as a battle. Me against the world, like when I say that, I'm like, no, but like literally. Like it's you're fighting the world, like it's you and God. In school, like I'm still in school. I'm going into senior year. And these past 12 years, it's been like you either adapt to the school. And I'm not saying like going to school is bad because like going to school isn't bad. It depends how you do school. Depends who you hang out with, what you do, how you handle it. There is where I mean that you have to be strong in your beliefs.
I think it's about being sure, like being sure in what you believe, like really believing what you, not just what you say you believe, but like really believing, like, you know, being about it. Right, the conviction, like you were talking about. And I think it's interesting what you were saying. When you step out of church, you're no longer that person, or you're like super about church all the time, and then you like shove it down people's throat, and then they don't want anything to do with you, and then like that pushes people more away from church, right? And having that balance is that's what we're talking about here. Right? It's about like the balance with your friendships. When you figure out where that strength is that you're talking about, like that point where you're strong in your beliefs, is when people start respecting you. Like, you know, your friends knew when you went to the movies, like, hey, you know, you're the Christian girl, like, you know, I know that you don't want to do this or whatever, and then you made your decision, you stood strong in those beliefs, and it's about placing your limits. Like, for example, for me, I have a lot of friends that aren't necessarily Christian. Like, sometimes I have a group chat where, like, my friends will start posting, like, they'll send pictures to each other of, like, girls on IG, and as soon as they start doing that, they know, they start making comments like, oh, Dante's not going to want to see this, you know, he's going to start complaining, or he's going to start saying that we shouldn't be posting this. And they start making those comments like right away after they start sending the pictures.
Sometimes sooner or later we know that even though we could be different, and that we could be still genuine, you know?
Yeah.
And they see that.
To Orlando, all the people there, like I didn't tell them I was Christian. Definitely not that I was a pastor's kid. And I don't know, they just like get to know me, and I met people that were so different from me. And they became my best friends. And like a month after we were there, I don't know, they found out that I was a pastor's kid, and they were so shocked, but at the same time, they felt like they could be completely honest with me and that I wasn't going to judge them for anything.
Awesome, yeah.
And the same thing as you, like depending like what the plans were for the day and stuff, sometimes they just like wouldn't tell me where they were going if they knew I didn't want to go, and it was fine. Yeah. And I don't know, just keep it like PG while Dani's around.
That's pretty cool. It happens to me at work too. Like, you know, I'm a 100% sold out Christian, you know, let's change the world, you know. But when I'm at work, I don't really be preaching to anybody or, you know, telling anybody or getting on anybody's face and telling them what they need to do. You know, I believe this is more of a walk than a talk, you know. So I believe that, you know, I just need to walk this thing out. And I think walking it out is our greatest tool to evangelize, you know, because people see something different in you, hopefully. Right. We could think sometimes that the war is outside of ourselves, but the war is within. I think it's interesting. We've talked about this, and I really admire that you have a lot of friends that don't necessarily come to church, because that's the challenge itself. You know, we could think that, you know, we need to be here and we could only hang out with the people from church, and I think that's a religious mindset. Yeah. You know, maybe that relationship and maintaining that relationship will give you an opportunity one day to share your testimony and what God has done in your life. You know, so when we close ourselves up, you know, it's definitely not good, you know, to be on the other extreme.
And right now that you're saying the preaching part, in a past video we talked about how people see the change. Like when they see the change in you, they'll see like it's worth it. So I believe that, like how you said, it's all about, it's not the talk, but it's the walk. I didn't grow up in a Christian church, so I was like new to this. I was like, 7 years old? At the beginning, I was like, that's not my thing. Right. But then like sooner or later, I noticed and I started being like aware of everything. And I noticed that it's not about the talk. Like you can come preach to me and I'll receive things that I can receive. And things that I'm like, okay, I received that, but then there's things that I don't receive.
And it's like at this point, I mean, especially nowadays, like these people have heard it all. Everyone, I feel like everyone around me at least knows about God, knows that there's church, knows that like there's a Bible, and like they know all these things and they've heard it all before. And it's not like Jesus came to die for you on the cross. It's like, okay, someone's told me that already, right? But to see you live it, to see the change in you, and like especially if people knew you before and after, like to see who you were before and to see who you became, to see that God actually like made an impact in your life, you know. So it's important what you're saying about like talking, like not just talking but being about it, right? Like you don't have to go around like evangelizing to everyone in the sense like, hey, Jesus came to save you and you're going to hell if you don't accept Jesus right now.
And I think that's where a testimony comes into play. Like a testimony is a story of what God did in you. And then they understand, wow, he did it. Because, like, let's say, you tell someone, God, like, helped Moses, and he parted the sea.
Yeah, who was
But
Moses?
that was, like, 2,000 years ago.
Right.
Normal person is going to be like, no. One, do I even know if Moses is real?
Right.
Two, what if that sea is, like, fake? What if God is fake? So it's like God changed me from being this to being this.
Right.
Where you're saying that our testimonies, what it does is really opens up a door for that person to step into that room.
Because there's no questioning it, right? It's undeniable. Like this happened to me. I'm telling you something that happened to me personally. It's not like this is a story I read in the Bible. This is something I believe. No, this is something that happened to me. And it's happening to me right now, right?
Yeah.
Like it's undeniable. There's no questioning it. Like you don't have to fact check me. Like this is something that happened to me personally.
It breaks the barrier,
Right.
of people.
There's
you know,
no doubt.
of
There's
the
no doubt to be
unbelief.
had.
Yeah.
And then like we learned here, like when we say our testimony, we're prophesying that what happened to us is also going to happen to that other person. So then we open up that door to them that they can also change.
It's definitely not the easy thing.
No.
To be Christian, it's definitely it's an everyday challenge.
It is.
It is.
You have to fight the good fight. Right.
Yep.
But it's worth it though.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
It's really like eye-opening how like we believe that it's gonna be an easy walk because it's with God.
Right.
But the walk with God is easy. That was a very good talk, talking about being Christian in the 21st century and having our special guest Dante.
Thanks,
Thank you guys for having
for
me.
joining
I
us.
enjoyed it. Yeah. This is awesome.
We hope to see you guys soon in our next video.
Somebody brings something to the table next week.
Yo traigo el pan. Hi guys, thank you for tuning in and joining us today. I had a lot of fun. If you guys like this video, please share it with your mom, your brother, your sister, your grandma. Comment below, let us know if there's anything that stood out to you or if there's any new topics that you would like us to bring to the table. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and like it as well. Thank you guys again for tuning in and join us next time.